Duluth, historically, it's a port city. Everybody who lives in that area loves everything having to do with shipping. It means a lot to them in a very elemental basis. And people are very moved by the sight of a tall ship with sails coming through their harbor. They were almost like a visual magnet. Everybody kind of drew close, and they were quiet, and they were kind of awestruck. And they were calm. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of people here just drawn to these big ships drifting by. We live in a world where everything's full of gadgets, and it's a struggle to keep up. In contrast, here's boats coming by that were built 2 centuries ago. And you just know that men and women built these ships decades ago, centuries ago, for a purpose, and immediately you understand it. And I'll be darned, I'm watching the boats go by with people, and folks started waving at the ship like the ship wasn't waving back. They were just waving at the ship. And it's almost like they could reach out and touch the ship and kind of get in touch with, I guess, a simpler and more profound history that once was and is no longer. And frankly, the grace of the people who came to Duluth to watch them go by. Richard Marshall, St. Paul Pioneer Press.
We often love a photo that's very personal. It means something to us rather than, it's a wonderful composition or a moment. I've chosen a photo of the Roseville 13 and under traveling A baseball team. And it certainly isn't the best photo I've taken all year, but it is my favorite photo. And you can almost see the exhaustion and resignation on the children's bodies, the way they're standing, the way they're looking out. You can't see their faces, so you don't really know. But I think it's kind of obvious when you look at the photo that this is a team that they're ready to go home. They've played their hearts out all weekend, and it was a great tournament. It was a wonderful thing to reach the final. But last player on the left, number 4, is my son. He's going to give baseball up for another sport. And I think that's why I picked this photo. The subject is very near and dear to my heart. I'm Chris Polydorf, staff photographer with the St. Paul Pioneer Press.
I chose this picture probably in part because I just took it, but and also because the fellow in the photo is someone I sort of got to know a little bit throughout the night. I just this St. Anthony residence in St. Paul where people are basically allowed to drink until they die, and this fellow was in St. Anthony a few years ago but got kicked out. Now he's back out in the street, and we wanted to get a picture that kind of showed what it's like if you aren't in a place that you can safely drink, because this guy was definitely an alcoholic, and so he was showing me where he slept at night out in the cold, and I just like the feel of it. I like the mood. I mean, as a photographer, I kind of I'm drawn to the mood of the picture, but I guess I'm also I just remember this is a really nice guy. Ben Garvin, photographer at the Pioneer Press.
This photo is probably as close as I've ever come to a Norman Rockwell sort of moment in one of my photographs. I really felt it had that feel of that great painter's work. It took place at the Great Hall at Bethel College on a July afternoon when 700 new Americans, recent immigrants, were taking the oath of allegiance to become citizens of the United States. So I just stepped back, waited for the oath to be administered by a judge, and just started photographing them with a wide-angle lens. Got my photo of this very, very exuberant African man and the people following. And I just love looking at the faces of all the new people who are taking the oath, because the faces just give me a feeling of the fervent joy on these folks to be finally doing this wonderful act at becoming American citizens. John Doman, St. Paul Pioneer Press.
I shot pictures of Chris Niskanen's finished sauna, which he built on his land out near Stillwater. in the summer months, back in July or August perhaps. It's a beautiful handcrafted building, and he's just did a great job on it. And besides it being just a really nice structure, I like the picture because of the late afternoon light coming in, and I like it because it reminds us of why we like to live in Minnesota. The other season of the year when things are green and we're not buried under piles of snow and ice. Scott Takushi, Pioneer Press.
I took this photo on Veterans Day. I hope Sophia Schwapich gets her father back. She's been told he's in the Army, that he's at work, but what she doesn't know is that her father's hurting. Her dad's in Iraq who was diagnosed with PTSD and is getting treatment. Sophia talks every day on the phone to her pa. She thinks he's working and he's away from home. He's in New York. He's in Texas now getting some help. But she's being protected from the truth. Jean Pierre, Pioneer Press.
I think one of the most challenging things a photographer has in his daily assignments is to wait for moments to occur and then capture them on film. On a Sunday in mid-March of 2010, I was asked to cover the closing day of the Minnesota legislative session. Among those departing was Senator Steve Murphy, DFL from Red Wing. His speech was filled with emotion, choking up from time to time as he recalled moments from his 18 years of service as a state senator. Those emotions were followed with this moment of levity, when he yanked his tie as he tried to make light of a highly charged emotional moment in his life. The gesture took everyone in the Senate chamber by surprise. I've learned that it's important to never let your guard down when you are covering an event, because when you do, you miss out on moments like these. Ginger Penson, St. Paul Pioneer Press.
I really like this photo because it's humorous for some reason. It's hard to put your finger on why it's humorous, but it is. It's a high school traveling wrestling show. It was a fundraiser for Hastings High School. And it was great photo opportunities abound in it. So I was just looking for one that would summarize the entire event. And I saw this young girl, 14, 15, really cheering on one of the wrestlers, who I found out later was a relative of hers. And so I kind of positioned myself across the rink from her and just kind of kept an eye on her and kept scouting around for other things. And when her hero fell, she just got up and just totally yelling everything out to encourage him to get back up. And it was the shot to him in the foreground and her in the background, and just to sort of summarize the whole thing. And I like the emotion of the moment. John Oddie, St. Paul Pioneer Press.